You are 45 years old. You have a job, a mortgage, or rent, a life that costs roughly what you earn, and somewhere in the back of your mind there is a feeling you have been carrying for years without quite naming it. The feeling that you should have started earlier. This is not a video about what you should have done. It is about what happens when someone who is 45 right now makes one decision, a small one, and holds it for 20 years. The decision is this: $500 a month, not $5,000, not a lump sum from an inheritance or a bonus. $500 a month, roughly the cost of a phone plan, a couple of streaming subscriptions, and one dinner out. The amount most 45-year-olds spend on things they could not list if you asked them tomorrow. This is your life if you invest that every month without stopping, from 45 to 65. Month 1, you set up the automatic transfer, not into a savings account earning next to nothing, into a brokerage account or super salary sacrifice holding a low-cost diversified index fund, something like VAS or VGS, or a simple two-fund combination tracking the broad Australian and global markets. You are not picking stocks. You're not timing anything. Every month on the same date, regardless of what the news is saying, you buy a small slice of the global economy. The first month, the market drops 3%. You do nothing. The second month, it recovers. You do nothing. The third month, it drops again. You still do nothing. Doing nothing is the work. By the end of year 1, you have contributed $6,000. Your balance sits somewhere between $5,700 and $6,400, depending on what the market did. You have not gotten rich. You have not transformed anything. You have built a habit and you have kept it for 12 months. That is the only thing that matters in year 1. 5 years in, you are 50. You have contributed $30,000. Assuming the roughly 8% average annual return that broad index investing has historically delivered over long periods, your portfolio is worth approximately $36,800. The market has done $6,800 of work for you. Money that did not come from your job, your hours, your performance review, or your boss. It came from time and compounding, and it is just getting started. Something else changes around year 5. The $500 stops feeling like a sacrifice. It becomes as ordinary as paying for electricity. Your brain reclassifies it from money I am giving up to money that is already gone. That reclassification matters enormously because the people who fail at long-term investing rarely fail because of the market. They fail because they feel the $500 leaving every month treated as a loss rather than a transfer, and stop during the first bad year or the second or the first time something else needs the cash. You have not stopped. At year 10, you are 55. You have contributed $60,000. Your portfolio is worth approximately $91,500. The market has added roughly $31,500 on top of your contributions. More than half of the total growth has now come from the market itself, not from you. This is where compounding starts to surprise people. It does not add the same dollar amount every year. It adds a percentage of whatever is already there, which means the bigger the portfolio gets, the faster it grows in absolute terms. In year 1, the market contributed a few $100s. By year 10, it is contributing $6,000 to $7,000 a year on its own. More than an entire year of your contributions generated without you doing anything additional. At 55, looking at this account, you feel something unexpected. Not wealthy, not financially free, but protected. A restructuring rumor at work, a difficult conversation with a manager, a department being quietly wound down. None of it produces the same spike of stress it used to because $91,500 exists that has nothing to do with your employer. That changes something, not dramatically, but internally and permanently. At year 15, you are 60. You have contributed $90,000. Your portfolio is worth approximately $173,000. The market has now generated $83,000, almost as much as you have personally put in. This is the crossover point. The portfolio's own momentum starts to rival your monthly contribution. At $173,000, the portfolio generates roughly $13,800 a year in average returns, about $1,150 a month. That is more than double what you are still putting in. The portfolio is now investing more than you are. This is also where Australia adds something that does not exist in a generic version of this story. At 60, if this $500 a month has been going into superannuation via salary sacrifice, you have just crossed preservation age. Withdrawals and pension payments from super are now generally tax-free, and because concessional contributions are taxed at 15% instead of your marginal rate of 32.5 or 37%, more of every dollar you contributed over the past 15 years actually landed in the account and compounded rather than disappearing in tax before it ever got invested. You have 5 years left until 65. You do not stop. At year 20, you are 65. You have contributed $120,000 of your own money over 20 years. Your portfolio is worth approximately $274,500. The market has generated $154,500 on top of what you put in. More than you put in yourself working silently while you slept, argued with your kids, took holidays, got sick, had good years and hard ones. The money was working the entire time. So what does 65 actually look like with $274,500? Let's be precise, because precision matters more than excitement here. This is not a yacht. It is not the number that ends every financial conversation forever. But combined with the rest of the Australian retirement system, it changes the shape of the years ahead more than most people expect. At a 4% safe withdrawal rate, $274,500 generates approximately $11,000 a year in income on its own. On top of that sits the age pension. For a single homeowner, the full pension currently sits around $29,000 a year, and the asset test allows a balance of this size without significantly reducing payments. Combined, that is a retirement income in the vicinity of $38,000 to $40,000 a year, sitting close to ASFA's modest to comfortable range for a single person, and meaningfully better than relying on the pension alone. And if the $500 a month has been sitting inside superannuation, those withdrawals come with no additional tax bill attached. $274,500 is not just a number on a screen. It is a buffer. It is the difference between the pension being your entire income and the pension being your floor. You can choose to retire fully at 65 with a small but real supplement to the pension. You can choose to keep working part-time into your late 60s by choice rather than necessity, knowing this account exists underneath everything else. You can handle the unexpected, a new fridge, a dental bill, a grandchild's birthday overseas, without it derailing the budget for the rest of the year. None of this came from being exceptional. It came from being consistent. $500 a month, 20 years, without stopping. Now run the same scenario starting at 25 instead of 45. Same $500 a month, same 8% average return, same discipline, but 40 years instead of 20. The result is approximately $1,750,000. You contributed $240,000 of your own money over 40 years. The market generated roughly $1,510,000 on top. The market contributed more than $6 for every dollar you put in. The 20 years between 25 and 45, the years most people spend building careers, paying off having kids, getting a mortgage, are also the most valuable investing years that will ever exist for them. Not because they had more money, because they had more time. And time is the one variable in compounding that can never be bought back later. So, what is the actual lesson here? It is not that you should have started at 25. You cannot change when you started. It is not that $274,500 is enough for everyone. For some people, it will not be, and building more means starting earlier, contributing more, or both. The lesson is simpler. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is tonight. Not next month when things feel less uncertain. Not next year once the credit card is paid off. Not someday when the timing feels right. Tonight. Because the 20 years that determine what your life looks like at 65 start the moment you decide they do. The 45-year-old who sets up that transfer tonight has a different life at 65 than the 45-year-old who sets it up in 6 months. Not dramatically different, not visibly different, but measurably, mathematically, permanently different. $500 a month is not a lot of money. Over 20 years, it becomes a different retirement at 65